So this very cute atlas, this infinitely expanding civilization map-esque atlas, which I know you're particularly fond of, Jonathan.
Yep.
What's kind of the idea here? Like, is the layout the same for everyone? Is it the same across the league?
So it's the
Procedurally
same for all
generated?
your characters in the league, but the layout is different for everyone. It is random.
Ah, okay.
So you're gonna have to find stuff. Like, it works like Delve in this respect, which is obviously
Yeah.
a league that I was particularly a fan of.
Yeah.
I'm just a really what I really wanted is I wanted a feeling of exploration in the atlas, and it's something that we sort of tried to do with the Atlas and POE 1, with that feeling of kind of, having the connected areas and exploring, but it didn't feel like exploration in quite the same way that this does.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I loved, and it's one of the reasons I love Delve. So that's, kind of where this was coming from. And at the same time, it's sort of solving various other problems that we've always had where, one of the things that's really cool to do is to be able to have things like, okay, like in this area, you've got like this item drops and like that kind of thing. Like I guess in POE 1 you had div cards, but yet there was always a problem where if you have differences between in-game areas in a system that works like POE 1 does, then effectively that's the only map people, like whatever the best map is, that's the one everyone will run like continuously forever.
Yep.
So effectively, we wanted to try and make sure that you actually like had an experience that had more variety while still retaining the whole, like, I get to play the content that I want. So ideally with the Atlas, we kind of get that we've got in POE 2, we get to kind of have both of the best of both worlds. We get to make sure that there is some variety. You feel like you're exploring, but because once you've run a map, that's run, and now you have to move on and do it and find another one. It's not just like just play one map again and again and again. But yet the content can be added to it. And you can do things if you like the particular maps, because there are biomes and you can see them from far away. You can be like, okay, I know there's a particular desert map that's great, so I'm going to go for deserts, and that's fine. You can do that kind of thing. So like you've both got controllability, but also the ability for us to kind of make more variants.
You get a lot more very high satisfying spikes.
Yeah.
Where, like, for example, you get more variables where you just have, okay, there are like 4 towers, really. You've got a good tower cluster, and you've got really good maps in that range. So, like, there are maps. So, in Path of Exile 1, for example, the range is effectively, say, how do I quantify this? Like, say, 350 monsters up to 700 monsters.
Yeah.
Whereas the range here is like 300 monsters up to like 1,500 monsters, much more drastic range. Now, those numbers are arbitrary, but it is approximately the representation of the range. Obviously, you then modify it and add more to it and all of that. So you will have some maps that are like extremely good with Delirium, and some maps that are like way better with something more like Breach.
Yeah.
Because Delirium enhances the monsters of the map, whereas Breach entirely adds the monsters. And you will even have things where there are maps that are like way more magic monsters, way more rare monsters. And so you probably want that with, pick your league of your choosing and whatnot. You have all these variables that are at play, and so you'll all of a sudden find a really good set of towers with some really good maps and radius, and then you'll get really good tablet modifiers, and then you'll get really good maps with really good prefixes, and you want to just combine all of this and you obviously instill them all, and you corrupt them all. And there's the corruption influence.
We didn't show that,
and so
did we?
then there's the corruption influence on them. And it's like, okay, like...
It is possible for there on one map to be many, many mechanics stacked to the point of craziness.
So it sounds like the juicing is definitely there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's important, right? I mean, like, that's part of the POE experience. But, for 100%.
But how much control do you have as a player, though, over min-maxing your just exploration of the Atlas map? Like,
so effectively,
can you do better in some way?
So effectively, what you're going to want to do is the towers are where you go to like see areas around, and then there's the structure of the connections is quite open. So like you can beeline for things pretty well.
Yeah.
Like if you you can certainly see a lot more maps than what you play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So because of that, choosing what you want is easy to do.
And you can kind of see the towers in the fog.
Yeah, so you can see the towers in the fog from a distance, which means that like a lot of the time it's like go to a tower, you'll see some maps you want to play, you go play those, then it's like the next tower is just a few other maps away. Go to that tower, see the next area, and so on.
I'm guessing that's like a certain range out you can see.
Into
the fog of war.
The fog kind of in 3D the fog's actually a 3D thing, and it rises slowly as you get away from where the thing is. So that's how you kind of get the towers to.
Cool. So you might see a cluster of towers off somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that.
It sounds like this is like potentially an infinitely expanding map that is going to be, by the end of someone's league, quite big.
Yes. So we actually need to add a search feature. I don't know if they've done it yet for finding specific maps that haven't been run yet.
Yeah,
we have a few things. Like there's a button you can press and it like goes to your last map run, one that goes back to a home base, and one that goes to some of the special, more iconic things you find. But we certainly need more. 100%.
Yeah.
So that is something we will be working on. Hopefully it's there. Who knows?
And so Waystones have a tier, but they don't have specific maps on them anymore, which obviously shrinks that whole map pool thing down substantially. What sort of impact does that have?
It'll make the map stash tab a little easier to manage. That's good.
Yeah, so have you thought about like what sort of, I don't know, economic consequences that have for like how players progress through maps? Is it easier to do when you don't have to collect all of these individual maps to get the completion bonuses and stuff like we do currently? Like we have that whole, hunting down over 100 maps to get completion for. That's
now you're hunting, you're hunting certain valuable maps, you're hunting towers, you're hunting content, you're hunting, the warlord, the faction leaders to get the pinnacle.
Yeah.
You're hunting unique maps, a very different thing for sure. As opposed to, and then the item is all about, I've just got a key, I just want good modifiers. There's not really all that whole other variable to it. So there's still a lot of interesting choice and access, but we've taken it from the item and put it on the actual world map. But it's cool. It also makes you just feel like you're traversing a world. You're not instantly like finishing the campaign, very grounded, and now I'm in space. Like Path of Exile does have that.
I only literally just thought about that. I was going to ask about that. So, the mapping system was always this like extra dimensional kind of unknown thing. It's pretty interesting, but it is a little weird.
So we wanted to start with to actually like at least, look, I'm sure we'll get to the extra dimensional beings eventually, but at least to start with, we wanted to have a bit more grounded initially.
Yes, you're on the planet.
Yeah.
Right, you're
on the planet. That's like a good thing. We have become a sci-fi crazy, but you haven't gone to the moon yet.
Yes. Well, even then, we were saying like, can we at least before we go to outer space, go to the moon first? Like, how many moons are we? Don't. There's a whole complicated thing we need to figure out there.
Wow. I feel like there's a delve but up league coming. All right. So we've got this 1 in 4 maps is boss maps, and then that means the other 3 are not boss maps.
Yes.
What does a non-boss map look like? How do you win it?
So effectively what you need to do is kill the rares in the map to remove the corruption and finish it. Once you get down below 50 monsters, it will point out any rares that are remaining. There'll be like a marker just so you know.
I was worried about that.
Honestly, I wouldn't expect that to even be necessary most of the time because the layouts are kind of designed so that, if you, generally speaking, you want to clear the maps to find the rares anyway because those are the one, those have good drops. And effectively, the only reason that you would need that marker thing is just occasionally you get some slightly weird degenerate layout where there's some side bit you didn't notice or something like that, and then that's where you have to go. So generally speaking, you'll be able to make your way around and kill them all.
The goal of the player is you're cleansing corruption from the world, you're bringing order back, stuff like that. So you even get the thing on the map where you're like, if there's some corruption-y looking stuff around the map, when you complete the map, that gets purged away. So you feel like you're reverse painting the map a little bit. And
you're cleaning up.
It can actually be quite satisfying as you're like changing all the nodes from one color to another, and you're like, this is fun. I'm like,
But ultimately, what we wanted to do is we wanted boss combat in PoE 2 to matter when we have it.
Yeah.
And so in order, like if you have a map boss every area, then if we made it so the boss combat mattered enough, like in order to actually balance it that way,
stressful.
It's too much. Like it actually is like, you spend too much of your time fighting bosses.
Yeah.
So effectively, if that's what you want to do now, you can do it because there's bosses there. Like when I say 1 in 4 maps is a map boss, that doesn't mean that 1 in 4 maps you play is one. Because, obviously you can pick what content you're doing by exploring
you
around.
can chain
you're picking your
boss.
pathing and your path.
Exactly. So effectively, if you want to hunt the bosses, then that is the thing you can do. If you want to just like do some mindless grinding for a while, you can do that too. And what it means is we can actually make the bosses way more rewarding. They can drop way more items than they were going to because of the fact that there's not one at the end of every area, right? Like we can actually, and the fight is substantial. You get a lot of drops. That actually is something.
And they get their own tree.
And they what? Oh yeah, I don't know. Right? You mean the boss killing tree? Yes, there's a tree for boss hunting. Sorry, I thought you meant every boss had its own tree. And I was like, geez, did you do some design while I was looking?
Not yet.
Josh was like, wait, stop. It's too much.
Jeez.
That's like a year 3 feature.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Yeah, so there's actually like I do love that there's a boss hunting because I'm super into that. There's a boss hunting tree that you can fill out as well. So how do you get points on that? Like,
Yeah, so effectively, I mean, well, you can...
You get a lot of points for the core tree. There's a core tree that affects all mapping. That a lot of things like pack size, quant rarity, and you've got multiple keystones that all can work together, and all can. So I think there's 3 of them. One plays on like corrupted maps. One plays on like prefixes and suffixes, and I can't remember what the other one does right in this very moment. But you obviously get that core tree, and then you have a boss tree, and then obviously all the different league and pinnacle content trees. So you get those points by just completing maps. It just has you effectively get a quest, and effectively it's like you complete 10 maps, you get your first 2 points, and then like complete X maps and one, goes up the chain.
But of certain tiers. Like
at least tier 1, at least tier 2, at least tier 3.
This is the tier climb, effectively, where it's like as you get up the higher tiers and clear maps of certain tiers, that's when you start getting points for the Atlas.
At like, may say the third one, I can't remember the exact specifics, it's like, complete this and defeat a boss, and then later it's defeat at least 5 bosses at something, and so killing bosses generate.
It sounds way better for fresh starts. I'm not having to like go and get that estuary map that I missed or something. It's
yeah, for sure.
I'm just doing content. I'm just doing good content.
But it is kind of the analog of that in a way, because like it's that feeling of like I've got a system to progress through. Like I need to beat these objectives, and
definitely got a lot of progression.
And from that you're getting the the Atlas passive points and so on.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, so you can really like focus in on map blasting with the bossless maps, and or on bossing content if you want to, or on breaches,
and you can always put a breach on a map with a boss, right? You can do both.
Yeah, like they can have you can have every type of content in one map if you want.
Yeah, is like a boss map a kind of like a distinct thing from like a regular map in terms of like the layout or the thing you've done?
Technically, they are separate, but generally speaking.
They'll be similar.
Yeah, they're basically the same.
They're pretty similar.
They're pretty similar.
So there'll be like a boss estuary and a non-boss estuary.
Yeah, there are some cases at the moment where there are some maps that can't have a boss, and because we haven't done the one that would go here is not in early access yet, and that kind of thing. But effectively, as I said, generally speaking, it'll be 1 and 4 that you'll find.
Okay, excellent. So I think that covers. Did I miss some things from? You've got like all the smaller contents, like the songboxes and essences and things like that.
So initially, we actually had a design where everything, like even all the smaller content, there was still going to be icons for it on the tree. On the Atlas.
Yeah.
But we actually found that it meant that when you were actually exploring, it felt like there was nothing random to find. So we wanted to make sure we also have kind of just completely random stuff that like doesn't have a progression system that you just run into randomly, because that's fun too. And we'll probably be adding more stuff like that as well over time. That's just like I randomly encountered this, and that was like not expected. So
is that sort of stuff on the core Atlas tree at all? Yeah. So you can kind of like see more of that if you want to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
And often mods on the items as well. On keep waystones.
Yeah. Cool. Yep.
Lots of different names. Maps, waystones, same thing.
Yes, I've had to keep kind of correcting myself about that. I was like, I don't know.
I mean,
guess these aren't really
internally, we definitely call them maps all the time. The thing is the only reason why it doesn't make sense thematically is because a map does imply it's of a specific location, whereas a waystone can take you to anywhere.
Yes.
So that's the reason why the name change had to happen. But I think that probably even players will probably just call them maps, I bet, just because, that's the POE one connection.
So we've got the Breach, Delirium, Ritual, Expedition, those like leagues that maybe need a new name.
Yep.
Is there another one that you're just both personally really keen to bring back in the future?
Oh, I mean, like I've always wanted to have Delve again, but I kind of got a bit of that wish with this system.
Yeah.
It's also a very like content heavy league to make, because you need to make tons of encounters, and doing it properly is a huge thing. But I mean, look, I love Incursion as well. It's one of my favorites. Like I'm keen for that. I don't know if there's anything other than that you're really keen for.
There's a lot, especially because there's a lot we can do with all this new art, new monsters, right? Like, for example, if you just take Legion had all those 5 civilizations. We've now got an entire new array of Vile monsters, Vile bosses, etc. that we can use as a baseline. We've got way better consistent direction on what's going on there. Heaps of stuff, new animation, and the capacities are just like out of control. But then you've got Incursion. We've got awesome Vile artwork we can use there and make that all awesome and nice. New corruption mechanics that we can extrapolate on.
You don't want to have a roof as the boss anymore?
Nah, we're not just going to have a floating roof. The Omnitext is just a small floating roof.
Oh, you're keeping with the theme of vacuum cleaners.
Wow,
standing and then
mistakes
the
were made. Now we have minimum. That's a world where you had super uniques with 1 or 2 skills.
Yeah.
Right. There's only so much you can do with a floating roof. So anyway, and then I don't know, even like Bestiary coming back with something, because we've got all these like, awesome bosses, way grander in scale, and you can do these more grand hunts for them, as opposed to just like, I'm like in a city and there's a rare spider, you know. You can just get way more epic and way more involved and with all the new art and so much stuff to like.
A bestiary 2 that's like hunting big beasts and preparing for them and tracking them. That'd be pretty cool.
Exactly.
I'd definitely take some mercenary action to that. It'd be a good fit, I feel. All right. Well, there's lots for us to look forward to there. You have some kind of like penned already for adding to the beta.
I mean, all plans can change, but there are absolutely. I mean, look, that we've done things like commissioning art assets and so on. Like we've got there's stuff coming along. It's just a question of like when we actually get there,
committed.
what's it going to look like?
Yep. All right.